Let's take a journey into the dark and divine. Encounter demons of every shape and size, from the classic horrors of folklore to modern fiction's original, terrifying creations. Witness the monsters born of cultural mythology, from the ghastly ghouls of Eastern tradition to the bloodthirsty beasts of Western legend. The beauties and horrors of legends, those that live within us. Welcome to Myth and Lores, a journey into the dark and divine. Without further ado, let's jump into another lore. The concepts of tulpas and doppelgängers have rich roots in folklore, psychology, and modern horror, each representing deep fears and symbolic themes that speak to the human psyche. These entities often embody the struggle with identity, self-doubt, and the possibility of losing control over one's mind or body. Here's a breakdown of the lore and symbolism of both, particularly in context of horror. The term tulpa comes from Tibetan Buddhism, which refers to a type of thought form or manifestation that is created through intense mental focus and concentration. In this belief system, a tulpa is not just a thought or hallucination, but a fully autonomous entity that can develop its own thoughts, feelings, and desires. The practitioner creates the tulpa through meditation and visualization, and it can take on a life of its own, sometimes leading to disturbing consequences if it becomes uncontrollable. Symbolism in horror, creation, and control. Creating a tulpa symbolizes the idea of the human mind pushing the boundaries of its power, often with dangerous or unintended results. In horror, tulpas usually represent the limits of human control. The created entity may grow beyond the creator's influence, highlighting fears of self-doubt, loss of autonomy, or the monstrous consequences of our own creations. The unconscious mind. The tulpa can also symbolize parts of the unconscious or repressed psyche that the creator is trying to control or banish. In horror, this often manifests as the tulpa being a distorted or evil reflection of the creator. It may begin as a benign entity but can quickly become malevolent as the creator's inner fears, guilt, or darker desires manifest. Solitude and isolation. Creating a tulpa is often depicted as an act of extreme isolation. The practitioner is alone with their thoughts, separated from the outside world. In horror, this sense of isolation amplifies the terror of creating something that can, at any moment, turn on its creator, suggesting the existential horror of being trapped in one's mind. Psychological horror. In more modern interpretations, particularly in internet folklore, creepypasta, or urban legends, the tulpa is a figure that emerges from obsessive thought or profound isolation. It can be seen as a metaphor for mental illness like paranoia or dissociation, where the creator's mind fractures and the tulpa takes on a life of its own. Doppelgängers. The word doppelganger comes from German. It means double goer, referring to an apparition or a double of a living person. In folklore, a doppelganger is often considered an omen of bad luck or a harbinger of death. It can be a physical twin, a shadowy figure, or a supernatural double that exists separately from the person it mimics. The doppelganger symbolizes the duality of the self and the terror of being confronted by one's own reflection in an unexpected or unnatural form. It forces people to confront their deepest insecurities, flaws, and hidden desires. In horror, this encounter with the double often leads to an existential crisis or breakdown as the character questions their own identity and sanity. The doppelganger evokes the uncanny, a term coined by Freud to describe the eerie, unsettling feeling we get when something familiar becomes strangely unfamiliar. The doppelganger is a familiar figure, the self, that becomes distorted or distorted in a way that feels wrong or unnatural, triggering the fear of something being off-kilter in one's perception of reality. The appearance of a doppelganger could signify the loss of individuality or fear that one is not truly in control of oneself. It may symbolize the splitting of the self, where the person is confronted with the possibility that their actions and thoughts may not be entirely their own, but are being mirrored or controlled by something else. The doppelganger as an evil twin. In many horror stories, the doppelganger plays a sinister role representing the darker aspects of the person it mirrors. This double might engage in malevolent behavior, causing harm to others or the original person's life. This suggests a theme of shadow selves, the hidden or repressed aspects of one's personality that, if left unchecked, can become dangerous or uncontrollable. In some interpretations, the doppelganger is a harbinger of death, a sign that the original person will die or be replaced. This lends itself to the themes of mortality, the inevitability of death, and the fear that one's essence or identity can be erased or replaced without warning. Both tulpas and doppelgangers embody fears related to the self and the mind. These figures represent fractured or duplicated identities, exploring themes of psychological horror, loss of control, and the fear of becoming something else. They often appear in stories where characters face their worst fears, confronting not external monsters, but their minds and their identities. Tulpas and doppelgangers can both signify the splitting of the self. Tulpas through the creation of an autonomous thought form, and doppelgangers through the literal creation of a second self. Both symbols evoke the terror of losing one's unity or integrity as a person, becoming fragmented, fractured, or even monstrous. These entities can also reflect guilt or a need for redemption. A tulpa may represent a negative or repressed emotion or trauma the creator can't or won't face. Similarly, the doppelganger can often be a darker version of the self, can symbolize a person's guilt or darker impulses manifesting physically as if to punish the person for hidden sins or desires. Both tulpas and doppelgangers tap into the fear of the unknown. What lies within our minds? What happens when we confront the darker aspects of ourselves, and the terror of what might happen if those inner fears are allowed to take shape in the real world? In horror, tulpas and doppelgangers serve as a potent symbol of self-exploration, existential dread, and the anxiety that arises from the idea that our minds and identities may not be as stable or under control as we think. They challenge the boundaries between reality and perception, highlighting that our greatest fears and desires might manifest in ways we can't anticipate or stop. That concludes this lore. If you like what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next lore. Bye.